Welcome to the YD3 Show. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. This is our show for October, and this will be more of what our traditional show will be. Last show, obviously, we had a long conversation with Vice President Dan Dutcher. This time, we'll feature student athletes a little bit more and what student athletes, schools, teams, etc. are doing in their communities and the impact they are making. We are here at DeSales University. We want to thank the staff here for their support. We hope to at least start our show from a Division III campus every single month, and they might be just in my backyard in the Baltimore area. But in this case, we're here at DeSales, outside Allentown, Pennsylvania, because we're here to feature a student athlete who's doing incredible work, not only on the fields, but also in the classrooms and in the communities. Alyssa Brandt. Her story is one that you certainly will want to tune in for, and the impact that she has had, not only at this campus, but she's had in life, making trips to Haiti, Ghana, and in the future, Honduras as well. Her story, a true YD3 story, and one that you will probably come away smiling and certainly cheering her on. That's why we are here, and we certainly look forward to having that conversation with her coming up on the show. We'll also have our honor roll, which we will debut. The honor roll is a chance to us to spotlight student athletes or programs making differences that we may not have time to do full interviews with. Randolph Wildcats, for example, their fall sports teaming up with the student body to fight cancer. We'll also tell you about an incredible story of an Ohio school whose team is making an effort to give their freshman a chance to say she played college athletics before she unfortunately will die from cancer. It is a tear-jerking story, but an incredible YD3 story. The team making the effort, their opponent making the effort, and the NCAA making an effort. We will spotlight that story as well, plus plenty more, including YD3 in 3 words. Debut that here this month, giving a chance to hear from student athletes about why they love Division III athletics in 3 simple words. We asked for your videos, you've submitted them, and we will feature them. We will feature these, by the way, every month. So if you would like to submit a story idea, a YD3 in 3 words video, etc., make sure you follow us on Twitter at YD3 Show or the hashtag YD3. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/YD3. And you can also email me personally, dave.mchugh, on the graphic below, at d3sports.com. So plenty to cover here on the YD3 Show. I want to thank everybody who helped us with this, and we'll certainly do that more on the tail end. But in the meantime, we'll take a break, and when we come back, the YD3 Show for October officially kicks off. And don't forget, coming up also, Alyssa Brandt's interview in our Student Athlete Spotlight. More on the YD3 Show right after this.
What makes D3 special is the ability to participate in my team and within the broader community.
The perfect ending to a perfect season.
Being a D3 student athlete has completely expanded my life.
I learned how to lead. I really found a voice.
What time is it?
It's more about the experience rather than just a sport itself.
Without the experience of being a Division III student athlete, I wouldn't be the person who I am today.
NCAA Division III. Discover, develop, dedicate.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
Welcome back to the YD3 Show. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, here in our bit more temporary studio homes. We hope to have a more permanent solution by the time you tune in to our November show. We want to now talk about a story that has certainly captivated a national audience. It's not about just Division III or women's basketball. It's a mixture of both with a bit of side of compassion and fight. It's a story about Lauren Hill, women's basketball player at Mount St. Joseph's, and the story about how she found out she has cancer, which is terminal, and how a number of people, including herself, have rallied to try and make one moment special for her, the chance to play in a collegiate basketball game. The story was first reported by Brad Johanson at WKRC in Cincinnati. And thanks to him and his photographer, Eric Gebhardt, we give you the story once again.
When Lauren committed to play ball in Mount St. Joe last October, she had no idea that making it to the opening tip might be the toughest challenge she would ever face.
Oh my gosh, I miss the game so much. I'm really ready for basketball to start.
On October 1st of 2013, she turned 18, and Lauren Hill wanted there to be something special about an 18th birthday.
And I was like, man, I gotta make a memory. Like on my birthday, I gotta make a good memory that I can go back and remember. And I decided that that was the night I was gonna call the coach and confirm that I was coming to the Mount to play.
Coming to the Mount, with no knowledge of the climb that was before her as she started her senior year at Lawrenceburg High.
I wasn't keeping up with the other girls, or my ball handling was sloppy. I was tired. But then I figured that maybe it was just because I was out of shape.
We were lost. You know, as a coaching staff, we're asking each other what's going on. This is not the Lauren Hill we knew. We were really dumbfounded.
Vertigo, dizziness, then a collision with a teammate, a black eye, and a numb tongue.
Something's not right. Something's just, you know, I must have a concussion or something from this eye thing. We need to be looked at. And that's when we took her into children's.
49 days after her 18th birthday, an MRI revealed the brain tumor, DIPG, or diffused intrinsic pentine glioma. It's not a mass, it's a cancer with roots at the base of her brainstem with growing tentacles that weave through her nerves. Inoperable. The best hope doctors could offer was maybe 2 years to live.
I got very weak. I kind of started to black out. I know Lisa got kind of sick, and the beauty of typical Lauren, she sits up in bed and wants to know she can still play basketball.
The answer was yes, if you can do it through chemotherapy and radiation, so Lauren did. Not like she used to, but giving up wasn't an option, which she shared with her high school teammates.
She's like, you girls will not quit playing ball because I'm not there. She's like, I'll come after you. That was her message. She's like, if I'm not there and I can't be there, you girls better be out there playing. And don't be feeling sorry for me.
Never give up. Motto is never give up. Not that she ever did before, so I wouldn't imagine that it would change
It
now.
It hasn't changed much, but
she's still never giving up.
I never gave up for a second, even when they told me that, you know, I have a terminal diagnosis, and I never for a second thought about sitting down and like just not living life anymore.
So for the last year, the Hills have lived life. Grand Canyon, Niagara Falls, a Make-A-Wish trip to Hawaii. But mostly Lauren likes her time at home with brother Nate, who's a junior at Lawrenceburg, and sister Erin, an 8th grader. Last month, another MRI.
I knew in the back of my mind that it had grown.
What did she say?
Just, there's nothing they really do say. Because I can't do anything.
Get your things in order was the message from the doctors. She won't make it past December. Not to Lauren, that meant she still had time. Time to make her dream come true.
Oh my gosh, guys!
October 1st, 2014, her 19th birthday and a surprise party. After practice, her teammates gathered at the Mount. Lots of hugs, some tears, and a few presents.
When I got home, I told my parents that I was going to wear it around underneath all my clothes like it's a superhero uniform. Because it just reminds me of being strong. Like to stay as strong as I was back then.
To watch her play now, it's obvious her game isn't like it was. And the days are slipping by. But she told her coach, one game, I want to play one college game. Well, the opener was scheduled for November 15th away, but Hiram College has agreed to come to the Mount, if the NCAA will make an exception.
She's a special person. I mean, this girl's strong. She's dealing with death, and all she keeps doing is putting everybody else first. She's not thinking selfish at all. She's put her teammates first. She's put her family first. And just to give her that one last wish would be incredible from our program and our players.
I'm not scared of leaving, you know, not being here. Because, like, I won't be here, but the people I worry about are the people that I'm leaving behind.
you got your hands tied and you just can't help her. There's just nothing you can do for her but be there.
We all look up to her. I mean, she's smart, she's athletic. I hope I can be like her someday. I imagine that it's going to be very hard.
She was a huge gift from God, and if he takes her back, then we'll have to deal with it. But why we had her for 19 years, she was ours.
See then the stars, they burn. Some even fall to the earth. We got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. No, I won't give up.
So I love the roar of the crowd and the bouncing of the balls and the squeaking of the shoes and people working hard and, you know, fighting, and I just can't wait to be standing on this court in a basketball uniform with the number 22.
Coming to the Mount has never been such a bittersweet climb.
Well, this is one of the more emotionally draining stories I've ever had to tell. But Lauren wanted her story told to bring awareness to DIPG, which has a 0% survival rate. Most of those affected are young children. Research desperately needed to find a cure. We just learned yesterday the NCAA has granted an exemption for the Mount to open its season Sunday, November 2nd at home. They will tip off against Hiram College at 2 p.m. and Lauren will suit up in number 22 and play.
Once again, that story reported on by Brad Johanson of WKRC. His editor and photographer, Eric Gebhardt, want to thank everybody at WKRC for their help in allowing us to broadcast that story one more time. Again, the game will take place Sunday, November 2nd at 2 p.m. Hiram versus Mount St. Joseph's at Xavier University Cintas Center. Hats off to those at Xavier who have donated their facility for this game. 10,000 seats for this event sold out in just an hour. Proceeds from the sales of the $5 seats go to Cure Starts Now Foundation, the Cure Starts Now Foundation. You can learn more and even make a donation yourself at www.thecurestartsnow.org. Also, Mount St. Joseph's coaching staff have reached out to basketball teams around the country asking them to donate number 22 jerseys. Lauryn Hill is signing those jerseys. They will be auctioned off at the game also to help raise funds. And we should also point out the United States Basketball Writers Association unanimously and very quickly voted recently to honor Lauryn Hill with the Pat Summitt Most Courageous Award. It's normally given out to women's coach or a player during the women's Final Four, but the USWA decided they wanted to do this far earlier for obvious reasons. The USWA is also working to see if they can officially give that award to Lauren at the game. We shall see what happens in that front. The award also tends to go to a Division I recipient, so this honor for Lauryn Hill is certainly indeed a big one. When we come back, we sit down with DeSales senior Alyssa Brandt, who certainly contributes both on the soccer field and track and fields as well. But what she's doing off the field, in the classroom, and especially in third world countries, is what was going to impress you the most and got us to make the trip to DeSales to talk to her. But as we go to break, we want to bring you the story of another basketball player, this one returning to the court after diagnosed with a very rare liver disease and receiving a transplant. Here is her story, told in her words, thanks to those at Geneseo Athletics who shared this story with us.
I'm most looking forward to just being back a part of the team. I think I just miss the most just the whole team camaraderie, like practices, the fun things about being a part of a basketball team. This group of girls is more than just teammates or friends, and I'm just so excited to be back playing the game that I've played my whole life and have the opportunity to do it again. I feel great. I mean, you guys had better ask me after this first practice, but this whole preseason we've been doing a lot, and I really don't even feel like I missed that much time or that my body completely took a turn. So that's a good feeling, knowing that I'm kind of back to almost normal. Muscle-wise, I still have some room to grow and stuff, but I couldn't be more happy with the way I feel physically.
I used to never really talk, ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Welcome back to the YD3 Show. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. We're on the campus of DeSales University outside Allentown, Pennsylvania. We're on the road for our Student Athlete Spotlight. And joining me from DeSales is Senior Alyssa Brandt. And thanks for joining me. I certainly appreciate it.
No problem.
First and foremost, you're technically a 3-sport athlete, or you were up until your senior year. Give everybody just a brief synopsis of your athletic career at DeSales.
Well, at DeSales, I started as a freshman and on the soccer team, the women's soccer team. And then I hadn't anticipated doing track. I was going to focus on academics. But then winter season came around, I saw the track team practicing, I realized I could not run track. So needless to say, I ended up running indoor and outdoor track. And up until this year, I played all 3 sports until I had to give up soccer for academics this year.
And academics isn't a small token either. The idea of just playing one sport with your academic load actually makes some sense. You decided to go for it all. Give everybody an idea of what your major is and what your goals are.
Well, I'm a biology major on the pre-medicine track, and then I have a chemistry and a psychology minor. So I love school, but I'm very, very busy. And my goals are eventually to go to medical school and then become a physician. Right now it's a trauma surgeon, but I change that pretty much weekly. I'm like a little kid. I'm choosing my career. Exactly.
It could change by the time you're done with medical school.
It might. It probably will.
Or even residency or internship. Mm-hmm. When you were playing soccer and doing indoor and outdoor track, on a general day, how many hours were you spending both athletically and academically? In other words, did you have any hours you weren't doing one of those 2 items?
No. When you're a student athlete, you make an active decision to use your recreational time for athletics. And so I would go to practice during soccer season for close to 3 hours a day, finish practice, grab some food at the cafeteria, go back to my room and study until I fell asleep. And track season was much the same thing, with the exception of track meets are usually all day. And since I'm a sprinter and now a heptathlete, I compete for a total of 60 seconds, but I go for the entire day. So in between events, you see me with my anatomy textbook or practicing medicine on my teammates. So you have to be innovative, but you never really turn that academic switch off.
Trusting teammates.
Yes, yeah, they'll tell you.
And really a whole weekend, because the whole thing, I mean, you have multiple events taking place over an entire weekend really with track.
Right, actually MAC championships for outdoor track. Since I am a heptathlete, I compete at all 3 days, and it's actually the week before final exams. So I miss the last 2 days of my classes before finals to compete, and then I compete through the weekend, recover on Sunday, study, and take my final on Monday, and hopefully ace it.
Well, and what kind of academic load are you taking? I mean, obviously it's a big major and a couple big minors, but what's the credit hour on average for you every semester?
Before the start of this year, I had taken 122 credit hours, which breaks down to about around 20 credit hours a semester. Now, I did take classes over the summer, so that would even out, but I usually stay around 18 credit hours per semester.
And then your reason for not playing soccer this year, you mentioned, was academic, but it's a really good reason. Give everybody an explanation why you decided to skip the soccer season.
Right, yeah, that was a decision that unfortunately I kind of had made for me. The MCAT, the Medical College Admissions Test, I took twice this past summer, and my second exam was right in the middle of soccer preseason. And I had been studying for upwards of 11, 12 hours a day, and I would have had to miss the beginning of preseason. And any athlete at any level will tell you that's just not reasonable. So I might have been able to work through the applications, but the MCAT isn't something that I could compromise on. So.
Season's about 3/4 of the way done. How tough has it been?
Oh gosh, there are difficult days, and you go to the games and you see where you made a difference, and you see potentially those holes where you want to fill them. But I'm confident I made the right choice, and as difficult as that choice was, I'm thrilled with how well the team is doing and the effort they're putting in. And so, as painful as it is, they did well without me.
And you're still a good cheerleader.
Oh, I'm so loud. I think I embarrassed them, especially my roommate.
And one of the reasons we came to see you was really what you're doing as not a student, I should say, more than the athletic side of things. Obviously, being a 3-star athlete certainly helps, but student-wise, it's not just being the chemistry major, the biology, and the psychology. There's more than that. You, for a long time, have had this medical side of you in your blood, and it really dates back to when you were 15, and you decided to go on a trip to Haiti.
Yes.
This is before the big earthquake that everybody certainly knows about.
This was the year before the earthquake.
What was the drive to do that? Tell us a little bit of the story behind that.
Well, I moved to Maryland. My father was in the military, and so I moved to Maryland for my high school years when I was a freshman in high school. And in high school in Maryland, they have what are called student service learning hours. So you have to commit 75 hours to community service. And here, most people get a lot of them done in middle school because it runs through both middle school and high school. But since I missed middle school, I had to get 75 hours in high school, and I'm thinking, great, like, it was more of a burden to me than an opportunity. And that's a mindset that's really important, burden versus opportunity, and how you look at things. Well, I was coming with any way I could get these done. So I was a soccer player in high school as well. I collected our soccer team's old uniforms, and I brought them to our church for a uniform drive that they were doing for Haiti. And then they sent them away. I marked off a couple of hours, and I thought that was going to be the end of it. Well, like 6 months later, our priest came back from Haiti, and the Haitian soccer team in the town of DeSales had Blazers uniforms on, and they were the ones I'd sent. And so you do this community service, and sometimes you miss the purpose, or you don't think it makes an impact. And so seeing that, I was like, it kind of sparked my curiosity. And so I knew when I saw the ad that they were accepting teens to go to Haiti that it was something I wanted to try. Unfortunately, I was actually below the age group. I missed it by like 2 months, so I had to beg the church administration. I wasn't 16 yet. I was only 15, right. So I had to bat my eyelashes a little bit, and but they let me go, and so that's kind of what sparked my interest and got me going.
And that one trip has basically snowballed into really what seems to be, at a young age, your life's calling.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually couldn't put that better myself. It definitely, ever since then, all of my thoughts have been centered around becoming a doctor, becoming a great physician. Even athletics, you know, I'm on the field. How can what I'm learning here be applied in an office someday to provide better health care to patients here, but also in Haiti?
Was anything that you did with Haiti, and we'll get to other parts of that too, influence your decision to come to DeSales, or how you decided to become an athlete as well?
Definitely. I always say there's 3 universal languages. There's Catholicism and there's medicine, which are both Latin-based. So a lot of people, you know, I go to Haiti, I don't speak the language. I can understand a Catholic Mass and I can understand medicine. And then soccer. And soccer, there's no Latin base, nothing, but, you know, I went out on the streets and played soccer with the Haitians, and I couldn't speak their language, but we were communicating.
Sure.
And so that experience in Haiti, like, that's what athletics is about, especially at the Division III level, is that bridging of like gaps and bridging of cultural barriers, or any barriers for that matter. Like me and my teammates here, we may be all from the United States, but bridging those gaps. And so that connection is something that I really valued and something I wanted when I went to a university and when I played a sport. And it's something that the athletics at DeSales really strive for, and I think I saw that, and that's what attracted me a lot to DeSales athletics and made a huge impact on where I chose to go to school. So.
And obviously the major and all that, it plays a role, but you know, age 15 you go to Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
It's now become something that's kind of literally been the road you maybe even less traveled by for many people. But then you go back the next year. This is now post-earthquake. Everything changes even then for you.
Oh man, you know, you don't really know heartbreak until you see something like that, because you go and you see everything and you're so changed, and you see these kids living in these houses with, you know, corrugated metal roofs and no floors, and you're like, this can't get any worse. And then even just watching the earthquake on the news and seeing the presidential palace, where I had been just the 6 months before, was split in half and it was 10 feet tall. And it humbles you in the sense that so much is out of your control, but I felt so many things then. I felt really helpless because I saw the physicians going, and I'm like, I want to do that, like, that's what I want. But then going back and driving out of the Capitol, you saw like the miles of people living under tarps, and you know, it was bad and it was worse, and you didn't think it could be worse. And so it was just, I care so much about them and like the people there, and they've taught me so much that whenever that happened, my heart just shattered over and over because the pictures were everywhere. It was tough.
And then you kept going back year after year, and you almost stepped up your game in a sense. You brought the saxophone along. You started doing other things. What was your mentality when you went back every time? What was your goal?
You know, each time you go back and you go to a third world country and you expect to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And then I think universally from everyone who's traveled there that I've spoken to have said that the Haitians make a big impact on them. And they've given me so much in terms of my life goals and setting an example of how to be happy without possessions. And just so many different character traits I have are from them, and so I'm constantly trying to give things back to them. And I feel like I never do it justice, but so one year at the Bible camp we run, I was in charge of song and dance, and I was a saxophone player in high school, so I packed my little alto as my carry-on, and I used that. And then I eventually wanted to get more involved medically, so I shadowed an optometrist a few times, and then this past summer when I went, it was just for a medical internship. So I worked in a clinic there. So
before we get to that, because that gets even more interesting, you also took another trip to a different country, this time Ghana a couple years ago.
Yes.
What was the decision to go there? Was it to start broadening your horizons a little bit versus just Haiti, or did you just find another opportunity?
Well, my specific goal in terms of where I want to practice medicine is I want to set up a clinic in Haiti that has a rotation of specialists from the United States who both train Haitian healthcare professionals but also provide quality specialized care. Now, up until when I went to Africa, I hadn't had much tropical medicine experience. So the summer of my junior year, I knew I needed to gain medical experience. And the purpose of having an internship is to gain experience in a field that you want to pursue. And I was looking at all of the medical internships here in the United States, and a lot of them, because of privacy issues or whatnot, you're really limited. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I wasn't interested in a lot of what was offered, and so I started doing some research. I found this internship. It was a great opportunity for me to practice third world medicine, get exposed to tropical medicine, and so I applied, well, I didn't tell my parents first. I applied and then I told my parents, and then I got it, and sure enough, I ended up in Africa that summer for 6 weeks. So.
Wow. What did you do when you were in Ghana?
Way more than I was qualified to do, and I made that clear. So it was specifically designed for pre-med students, the internship. So in terms of medical training, we have very little, but the physicians there are really willing to teach you. And so I worked in a city hospital, and I rotated through different departments in the hospital, from labor and delivery, the emergency ward, the operation theater, hematology, pretty much anything you can think of, and even the lab. So I actually, some of the more interesting cases I saw, I diagnosed a little girl with rabies when I was in the lab. I diagnosed typhoid, tuberculosis, different stages of malaria, different strains of malaria. In the emergency room, you have people, the traffic laws are really poor there, so you have people coming in, motorbike accidents, gangrene, missing limbs, gunshot wounds, snake bites. The list, it's kind of exhaustive, the list. I could go on for a while. And the operation theater, that was definitely my favorite. I think I do have a calling to get into some kind of surgery. But I scrubbed in on my first surgery in Africa also. The physician, he didn't tell me what he was doing. He turned to me and he told me to go, well, he took me outside, he told me to take off my watch and start washing. And this man's about to get his leg amputated and he's telling me to scrub in. So I actually assisted on a leg amputation while I was in Haiti, or I'm sorry, while I was in Africa. And that was my first ever surgery.
And brought more modern technology to the surgical room, if I read correctly.
Oh, you did.
I think your iPhone came into play at one point.
Yeah, there was one day. The power grids in these developing countries they're so poor. I'm actually doing a project on it right now for one of my classes, and you get maybe 10 hours of power a day in these places, and it's really unreliable. Well, in a hospital, typically there's a generator. I don't know what happened to the generator that day, but the power went out in the middle of a surgery. The lights go out, the heart rate monitors go out, and they're not going to stop the surgery. Now, obviously, in the States, never would that happen in the first place, but the surgery would be stopped. So he looked at me and he said, "We need light." And pulled out my iPhone, flipped on the flashlight, and for 3 hours with my iPhone, lit up the surgical bed so he could finish the surgery.
Good thing you charged the phone.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because that battery drains it quick. But it worked, and eventually the power did come back on. But my arm was pretty tired at the end. But that was a unique experience.
And interestingly enough, you go to Haiti shortly before the big earthquake, which they're still recovering from.
Yes.
You're in Ghana, and now the news of the day is that that part of Africa is so in the news because of Ebola.
Yes.
What can you relate in any way, not necessarily to the experience of dealing with Ebola, but just the idea of dealing with a third world country with a major health problem? Are you sitting here kind of on the sideline like you were with the earthquake, itching to help or at least understanding the situation?
I think I do have a good understanding of what's happening with Ebola, primarily because I am of a science background.
Right.
And because I've been to countries like that. So you hear these statistics where Ebola has a death toll anywhere, or a death rate anywhere between 30 and 70 or 80%. Right. And what people don't understand is that when you're in a third world country, that 70 and 80%, that comes from the fact that in these countries, there's no sanitation. You know, there's gutters on either side of the road, and that has rainwater, sewage, pretty much any animal fecal matter, human fecal. So and there's no sense of hygiene, but there's also no education. Sure. And that's a huge, huge issue is, you know, people don't understand that you have to wash your hands. And that's such a foreign concept for us, but to them it's unheard of. And so sitting here, Ebola for me, it's been interesting because, you know, I've dealt with similar issues, even working in the AIDS and HIV ward, which it's transmitted the same way as Ebola, bodily fluids. Right. So I've had experiences with education and containment of that, and that's what's really needed here, along with the vaccination, obviously. Sure. But so experiencing that, and thankfully it hasn't hit Ghana yet. There's actually a U.S. station there that's responsible for helping control it. But yeah, watching the whole thing conspire and unfold, the underlying problems always come out in cases of these pandemics. Sure. So the sanitation, the education, and you know, until those are fixed, things like this will probably keep happening.
And of course, people who are scared to even talk about the fact they're healthy or sick
in
communities.
Right.
And I'm sure you dealt with that even on the, and I say it somewhat nonchalantly, the minor comparative diseases and illnesses. You probably had to deal with that in that sense too.
Exactly. And, you know, so a lot of these cultures, being sick is shameful. having an ailment or not being strong, especially in males, is considered shameful. And that's a cultural gap that took me a little while to understand. Sure. Is, you know, someone come in and they're in, you know, the late stages of cancer. And why did you wait so long? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First, people in these developing countries, they don't go to the doctor for anything. When I shadowed the optometrist, we're pulling things out of people's eyes, not reading charts. So they wait so long to come that oftentimes doctors can't do anything. They also seek different forms of medical care. So, and in Haiti and in Africa, voodoo is actually a huge issue because these people put their faith in voodoo specialists and it doesn't do anything. They get terminal, they come to a doctor can't do anything, and then they're like, oh, doctors don't do anything because they waited. So there's a lot of different things I think that contribute to that, yeah.
And you're still going to be traveling, and we'll get to post-school, but you've got a trip coming up in just a few months.
I do. I'm traveling to Honduras at the end of January. I'm working in a mobile clinic with a bunch of physicians from Summit Health Network back in Pennsylvania, near my hometown. I was working with a palliative care physician at an internship I had this past summer. My internship was here. Mm-hmm. And I was telling him about my experiences abroad and how I got involved in medicine. And he said he facilitates a trip every year through, it's called mama.org. And it's specifically focused on women and children, I believe. But they do a mobile clinic to the rural towns of Honduras. And he, after knowing me for 4 hours or so, he said he's willing to sponsor me if I come with his team of physicians and work and help in the clinic. So I'm interrupting my track season but for a good cause.
You have a resume that I think anybody with pre-med would be jealous of, but it's because of this one trip when you were 15
Mm-hmm.
has manifested itself into all of this. You hinted at what this road may lead to,
Mm-hmm.
what you'd like to do. You talk about obviously going to medical school, becoming
Right.
maybe a surgeon of some kind,
Right.
but what do you really want to do per your experiences that you've had in Haiti and Ghana?
Mm-hmm. I really want to be an excellent physician. And whoever I administer healthcare to, I want them to look at me and see that I'm working really hard for them. And sometimes, you know, when things get hard during school and I'm stressed out, I think, you know, if I persevere through this, if I do this the best possible way I can, it's going to make me a better physician. And so eventually, regardless of where I end up working, regardless of where I go to school, that quality of work is something that I'm going to aspire to in medical school, beyond medical school, when I'm working in Haiti, when I'm working domestically, doesn't matter. So ultimately, I do want to go into surgery. I'd like to do some kind of surgery that involves medical doctoring as well as surgery, but still a little while to decide. I'm not sure. And then eventually, I do want to spend a lot of time working in Haiti. Specifically, Haiti kind of has my heart, especially the kids there. If I can get into some kind of pediatric surgery even and help improve the health of the children there, it's definitely something I'm going to do.
And when you take your athletic experience on the field, on the track, on the fields of track as well, what do you take from that experience that you use in Haiti, you use in Ghana, or you hope to use as you go on to medical school and beyond?
There's so much. Anybody who ever questions whether or not they should do athletics in college needs to question whether or not they will be successful in a future environment only from what they gain in a classroom. And I think oftentimes the answer to that is going to be no. And that's kind of a scary thing for a college student because you spend so much time in a classroom. But definitely the aspects of both soccer and track is obviously teamwork. And you learn that in a whole new level in college because you learn to work as a team, but I'm competing against the other female sprinters on my team. So you have to learn to really want others to succeed. I want my teammates to succeed, but I want to beat them on the track. And so that kind of competition, it's motivating and it's also conducive to a good work environment because I would never get in the way of my teammates' success. And that's applicable in school and I think someday in an office. The second is just really perseverance, and this is something my grandma always says to me. She came here from Poland and she always said, Alyssa, you just have to keep persevering. And so when you're on the track and you're doing repeat 600s or you're doing a hard 800 workout and why am I doing this? I can't breathe. You have to think, that mental toughness that you get from that is something that when you're in Haiti and you're in an operating room and there's no air conditioning and you're smelling gangrene and you have to think, you have to have that focus in that time of chaos, and you have to really center your mind and think, perseverance. Like, I can be great, I just have to focus.
What about the experience of your coaches? They certainly seem to be ones that support you, whether it be understanding that you just can't come out your senior year for soccer, or it's understanding that you're going to be going to Honduras in the middle of track season, or that you do have these exams right afterward. What's been the experience with your teammates and your coaches here at DeSales?
I think this is where you see the divergence between Division III athletics and Division I athletics, or even Division II, is that when I came to my coach and said, in the middle of the season, I'm going to go to Honduras for a week. I will train there, I will do whatever you need me to do, but I think this is going to be great for my career. And I apologize, I'm sorry. And he's like, I don't know why you're apologizing. This is going to be great for your future. Go. And of course he said he'll give me workouts.
Sure.
That was the
He'll
next
give you a whole
sentence.
printout. Yeah.
But, I just, every time I struggle with something or I have a problem, even if it's not related to athletics, and I've come to my coaches, they're the first people who are like, we want you to succeed, how can I help? And even my soccer coach this year, I called her over the summer and we talked about preseason and my MCAT, and I said, I would have to miss part of preseason. It's just, I don't think it's going to work. And she goes, Alyssa, like, this happens. And you need to be a physician before you need to be a soccer player. And I understand that. And she goes, still come by my office, still be involved with the team, still be a part of this, but you need to focus on becoming a physician. And she's totally right. And it's what I needed to hear, not necessarily what I wanted to hear. I'm that kind of person who wants to make everything work all at once.
Sure.
But, she's right. And so the coaching staff, I'm not sure if this is universal or if this is just DeSales, but the coaching staff here, I attribute a lot of my success to. Absolutely.
Well, congratulations on both your academic success and your athletic success. I have a feeling we're going to be hearing about you in our future here. So thanks for joining me. I certainly appreciate it. Alyssa Brandt, jack of all trades, you could say, a little bit, and certainly moving on to a bright future, a true YD3 student, and we certainly appreciate her taking the time here at DeSales. We'll be back with more of the YD3 show right after this.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
What makes D3 special is the ability to participate in my team and within the broader community.
The perfect ending to a perfect season.
Being a D3 student athlete has completely expanded my life.
I learned how to lead. I really found a voice.
What time is it?
It's more about the experience rather than just a sport itself.
Without the experience of being a Division III student athlete, I wouldn't be the person who I am today.
NCAA Division III. Discover, develop, dedicate.
Jared Polonitsa. I'm a freshman, number 79 for University of Puget Sound, and I can solve a Rubik's Cube in about 30 seconds. Yeah. Let's go, Jared! Prove it! Let's go! Turn that cube! Let's go, Polo!
Welcome back to the YD3 show. That was certainly impressive for freshman offensive lineman Jenna Parlette, who, as you could see, solved a Rubik's Cube in 30 seconds. I think it's taken me about 20 years to figure out how to do that. Jared is from San Diego, California. No surprise, is an engineering major. Has actually played in the last 3 games for the Loggers, though he is certainly impressing his teammates off of the field and outside the trenches. Now to our next story, and this comes to us from the NCAA Champion magazine. It's a story of Wilmington cross-country runner Jenna Parlette and how her teammates, coaches, and family are dealing with the pain of losing her, and how she is also motivating them after she has gone. The story is written by and narrated by Brad Johanson.
Jenna's story is an inspiration to everyone, and we continue to tell it. And even before she passed, we told Jenna's story. When she collapsed while running a 5K and then got the pacemaker put in and then came back and was within 2 weeks running, we tell that story. And we tell the story of how she collapsed at the race and then was back the next week. So her story has always been there for us ever since she collapsed the first time in a race, and it will continue forever.
I cannot even imagine what Jenna's life would be like without running, because running was just part of her. I know she said after a week or so she didn't feel well if she didn't run. And we talked to her about college. We said, Jenna, I think my mom asked her, running is a huge commitment and being part of a team. And she said, Granny, I want to be part of a team. I couldn't imagine not running. And it was just part of who she was. I mean, she lived and breathed and slept it. It was just part of her being.
In August of 2013, Wilmington College runner Jenna Parlette was leading a cross-country race when she collapsed near the finish line. She passed away 3 days later. In dealing with the tragedy, her coach and teammates relied on memories of Jenna's inspiring life to continue competing.
One of the things that I gained strength through is just being around my team and the athletes. I mean, that's why I coach. That's the single biggest reason why I coach is watching the kids and watching them work hard every day and watching their improvement and watching their excitement for the sport. And that's the thing that brings me to work every day and gets me fired up to go and do a good job.
If Jenna was sitting there watching me on the track, I wouldn't slow down. So why would I slow down when I know she's watching me on the road? Like, I can't quit. Now I go full speed because I know she's there and she's watching, and I don't want to make her disappointed. And I know if she were still here, she would be using that gift to keep on pushing, and that's what I'm going to do to carry on her legacy.
I just kind of tried to look and feel how Jenna would have wanted me to feel. She would have wanted me to do the best that I could do. And it was hard, definitely. Sleep didn't come easy, all those things. But I just thought of Jenna and what she would want me to do, and she would want me to be the best I could be.
Jenna's legacy in her hometown of Miamisburg, Ohio, and at Wilmington College extends beyond just those who knew her best. Her coaches and family are ensuring that her story will be passed down to a new generation of runners.
If I were talking to Jenna's teammates today, I would tell them to persevere in whatever they wanted to do and do what makes them happy.
You never have to hold back, and no matter what the ailments you have or what the personal issues you have, you can always go forward if you want to, and that was how Jenna led her life, and that's the story we want to relay to the new kids that are coming into our program.
Her legacy is run with your legs, win with your heart.
Once again, thank you to the NCAA Champion magazine and Brad Johanson for giving us that a little bit of an expose into the Wilmington cross-country team and how they are remembering their former teammate. There are plenty of other great stories you can read on the NCAA Champion magazine, including a star at Manchester University whose trip from Mexico to the soccer field in Manchester, Indiana is anything but easy, but certainly inspiring, especially considering what he does in a general day. You can also learn about how a Muhlenberg student athlete, personal demons, and his experiences ended up inspiring at least one of his teammates to help save the life of a person he didn't even know. You can read more about the NCAA Champion magazine, hear those stories, and plenty more. Head to their website, ncaa.org/champion, and also sign up for the printed edition, 4 issues, for just $10. When we come back, we'll take a look at our honor roll. Those student athletes, coaches, programs, or schools who deserve to be in the spotlight for what they are doing off the courts and fields. That's coming up in our honor roll. Before we go to break, we want to debut our newest segment, the Why D3 in 3 words. We asked you to submit student athletes giving us examples of why they love Division III in 3 simple words. Here is this month's selections.
I would describe D3 athletics with 3 words: commitment, community, and character.
My 3 words to describe D3 would be passion, balance, and excellence.
3 words to describe why I love Division III athletics would be family, communication, and teamwork.
3 words would be teamwork, commitment, and passion.
Success. Teamwork. Competitiveness.
Well-rounded people.
Teamwork, adventure, and family.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was scared and shy. It was hard to look at people's faces. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. I made friends and won lots of gold medals. But I learned more than just playing golf. Special Olympics helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
In Maryland, on that old eastern shore, we got a beautiful campus, killer classes and sports. Yeah, this is Washington College, son. Need I say more? Come on down for a tour. Guarantee you gon' like it. Come on, open these doors. Where your future is bright. Chemistry class, I'm told. Said I'm learning some science. New fitness center, oh boy. We always reach for the highest. Top notches of staff. Really, I'm being honest. I need to learn me some Spanish. Go take Professor Thomas. We got our show, I promise, performing concerts and plays. So many clubs, I can't count them. Come join us, get engaged. Say hello to the president. He's the man, Mitchell Reese. Yeah, I'm so hungry. Let's head over to Hots and we'll feast. But you know we the geese. A word to Gus, he's the goose. Sports teams, we the champs. We still go hard to improve. Hey, yo, we bout that Greek life. Hey, yo, shout out to Zeta. What up? Hey, yo, Pop, Theta, Cotton, Phi Delta, Theta. I'm sure our faculty will help you go pick a major. And when you graduate, you'll be assured the greatest you made it. Hey, calm down, fill out the app now. Yeah. Washington College, let's go. Start out this half now. Your future's looking up. Everybody take notice. Take notice, yo. You'll be glad that you chose. is back. No slogan that I came up with, but to bring us back to the map. C-Town is where you'll find us. You'll rebound and check up on us. Just type in 3Ws.WASHCOLL.edu and then it's bam! There we are. Take on the tour from Chester to Sasser to Western Shore. You'll hit up every dorm. We got events galore. Homecoming looking stunning, taking pictures for sure. Relaying for life, staying up till the early morn. And when we playing our rivals, are you ready for war? Got that birthday ball celebrating for our man George. We the Goose Nation, we facing for years of excellent education. Let's go Washington College. Start out your path, start out your future's looking up. Everybody take notice. You'll be glad that you chose us. Why don't you come down? Fill out the app now. Washington College. Start out your path now. Your future's looking up. Everybody take notice. You'll be glad that you chose us.
And so we put our wings up. And so we put our wings up. And so we put our wings up.
It's rap. Na 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 na. And how much shall we say? Na 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 na. And how much shall we say? Na 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 na. And how much shall we say? Na 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 na. Whack why don't you come down? Fill out the app now. Washington College. Start out your path now. Your future's looking up. Everybody take notice. You'll be glad that you chose us. Why don't you come down? Fill out the app now. Washington College. Start out your path now. Your future's looking up. Everybody take notice. You'll be glad that you chose us.
Welcome back to the YD3 show. Thank you to Wacapella Group at Washington College. They created that song as an admissions promotion. It's a former a cappella singer myself. I'm always a sucker to show something like that. But that group also includes Washington Shoreman student athletes, including baseball players Pat Kinsella and Lucas DeFabio, both of whom have now graduated, and Ryan Miranda, who is now a junior on the rowing team. There are rumors, actually, that there may be another one of those videos in the works there in Chestertown, Maryland. By the way, the YD3 show and Hoopsville, my other show, are both looking for show opens. So if there's any a cappella groups out there interested in maybe taking a stab at giving us a bit of an open for either of these shows, let us know. Send us your ideas and maybe we can make something work. Now to our honor roll. This is a chance for us to spotlight some student athletes, coaches, administrators, programs, schools, conferences, you name it, who are making a difference on and off the field. And we want to start down in Virginia at Randolph College, whose fall sports teamed up with a student athlete advisory committee and selected one home event per sport to draw attention and raise money to fight cancer. It started back on September 27th with the cross-country meet dedicated to pediatric cancer. Then men's soccer on October 4th got on board. They took time to recognize prostate cancer. Then on October 15th, the women's soccer team took time to raise awareness from breast cancer, but at the same time took time to recognize one of the college security guards, Roy Evans, who apparently is the college's biggest fan and even shoots pictures for free. Roy lost his wife to breast cancer last year, but before the game, the team took time to honor her and him.
We also want to take this time to dedicate our breast cancer awareness game to you and your wife. We want to extend our deepest sympathy to you and your family. Although we did not know your wife personally, we all share a great sadness today we were informed about her passing. Our team and community admires your strength and courage. One thing I've learned during my time here at Randolph is that we are not just a college, but a family. And as a part of our Wildcat family, we would like to dedicate this game in honor of you, your wife, and your family.
It all culminated then on October 24th when the women's volleyball team raised awareness for thyroid cancer. Good job, Wildcats, on a job well done by all 4 squads this fall. You all should be commended. Of course, from one set of Wildcats in Virginia, we go to another set of Wildcats in Minnesota, and a round of applause for Ellen Cokes and Ashton Weber. They are teammates for St. Catherine's women's soccer team. They both are also involved in Colleges Against Cancer and Relay for Life. The 2 soccer stars have personally been touched by cancer in some manner and have taken it upon themselves to try and make a difference. Running events like the annual Relay for Life, which raised $20,000 last year, to getting their teammates on board, the women's soccer team is one of the top fundraisers for that Relay for Life event. The 2 have also helped organize a cancer awareness event each month this year, including a carnival-style event to raise money and awareness of breast cancer at a recent soccer game. They still have lung cancer and childhood cancer events planned the rest of the semester. So hats off to Cokes and Weber at St. Catherine in St. Paul, Minnesota. Also hats off to the Shenandoah baseball team, which spearheaded an ALS walk. The 3-mile walk on campus was started by head coach Kevin Anderson in honor of his mother-in-law who died from ALS last year. More than 200 walkers, including those from 8 other Hornets intercollegiate teams, took part in the event, which helped raise nearly $40,000 for the ALS Association. That was almost 4 times the amount Coach Anderson intended to try and raise. Hats off once again to those at Shenandoah who took part in the ALS walk and those at the baseball program who spearheaded it. Certainly deserve a tip of the hat for your efforts. I want to now go up to New Jersey. The DIII Rangers have taken on the initiative of working with Special Olympics to a very special degree. They certainly interact with them often, and here's a look from their point of view of how special these interactions really are.
DIII University student-athletes have entered into a partnership with New Jersey Special Olympics to form DIII Unified Sports. The program places DIII students alongside athletes with intellectual and developmental disabilities on the same field of play. This fall, Unified Sports takes on soccer before moving to the basketball courts this winter. 4 teams were formed and battle it out every Sunday at Ranger Stadium.
The involvement of the DIII students has been amazing, and this whole experience is just terrific. The DIII students are really involved in this, and the whole thing's about respect, and it's about playing on the same playing field with everybody. It's really, to be honest, it's sport at its purest form, and it's about competition, and it's the love of the game. It's really why we've all fell in love with sport in the first place, and I couldn't be more proud to be a part of this. I think sport is just another great outlet to level the playing field amongst people, and it's a great way to allow everybody to communicate together and, again, to really respect each other.
I look forward to Coach's Ark Morris class as well as this unified soccer program, and it's something you can come out, get involved in, and you make friendships, and it's a really awesome experience because you'll come in and hug them, and everyone is so loving, and it really shows what being unified is all about. Pairing the DIII students with the unified athletes is just a really rewarding feeling, and I feel like overall it just leaves you with a sense of satisfaction and involvement.
Each week, the Rangers acknowledge a Team of the Week and a Player of the Week. Last week, Wayne George took home the top player honors, and the Polar Bears were the team to beat. DIII Unified Sports meets every Sunday at 11 a.m. at Ranger Stadium. If you are interested in participating in DIII Unified Sports, email DREWunified@gmail.com or check them out on Facebook at DIII Unified.
Once again, thank you to the DIII Rangers for submitting that video to us. Special Olympics certainly means a lot in Division III, and that is certainly a very noble way of interacting with Special Olympians. Finally, we want to take the time to recognize the Maryville Athletics Department. The school's Athletes for Change initiative found a way to start a conversation about diversity and inclusion, and it began with a video called Step Up. That video and the associated program began this fall on campus with the first-year orientation in all athletics teams, and their efforts were recognized by the NCAA with its monthly diversity spotlight. Here is the video that Maryville put together.
We are Maryville College student athletes.
We are all about winning, and we want to be winners in every facet of our lives.
For that reason, we respect everyone we come into contact with,
regardless of color,
race, gender,
and sexual orientation.
We respect everyone.
We love our fellow men
and women.
And we treat them with a genuine concern for who they are as a person.
Every man and woman was created equal, and we stand behind this statement.
Every person has the right to make choices in their life.
We do not judge them because they are different. We judge them by who they are.
Because I'm an athlete for change.
I respect my classmate and my neighbor.
I'm against all kinds of discrimination.
I realize that my words can hurt people.
I will be careful of the language I use, or the names that are used to hurt or harm an individual.
My N-word is nice.
My F-word is friend. On the field, I want to beat you. But regardless of my competitive spirit, I want to respect you for who you are.
I will embrace diversity and respect my fellow man. It is not my place to judge.
It's my place to respect, listen, and embrace your way of life. I am all about diversity, loving my neighbors, and dealing with differences.
Join us in this fight to rid this community,
this campus,
in the world of ignorance and hatred towards others.
We will do it.
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 We will do it. One person at a time.
One person at a time. One person at a time.
one person at a time.
One person at a time.
One person at a time.
One person at a time.
One person at a time.
One person at a time.
Hats off once again to the Maryville Athletics Department on a job well done. We certainly hope the conversation starts not only on campus, but off the campus as well. That's going to do it for the October version of the YD3 show. Thank you so much for watching. We already are working on next month's show, which will include taking a look at an initiative to reduce the number of games in most sports in Division III by 10%. We'll take a look at why that initiative has moved forward, who is for it, who may be against it, and how it will ultimately be decided. That's coming up in the November version of the YD3 show. Also, don't forget YD3 in 3 words. Each month we want to hear from student athletes why they love Division III athletics in just 3 words. You can get more information online at d3sports.com/YD3 show or by emailing us. You can certainly email those and other ideas that you may have for the show to yd3show@d3sports.com. So again, any ideas you have that you think should be spotlighted, or the YD3 in 3 words initiative as well. We certainly look forward to getting all your ideas, though we can't make any promises we are able to find time for all of them. We will do our best to spotlight as many as possible. Stay tuned for more information regarding next month's show. You can stay up to date on our Facebook page, facebook.com/YD3show. On Twitter, our handle is YD3show, or use the hashtag YD3. And of course on our website, d3sports.com/YD3show. Once again, thank you to Alyssa Brandt for her time and all of those who helped put this month's show together. We look forward to seeing you next month for another edition of the YD3 Show.